Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. We're back with another video, and in today's video we've taken a race from my own lobby racing. Now if you are interested in taking part in these races, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and you will also be able to take part in these races that we do. We do elimination, so 4 people get eliminated and it rotates the lobbies around. And yeah, it's normally good fun. We had a bit of weather in there sometimes. Now this race we had a bit of a random setup. It wasn't 100% sure if it was going to rain. However, the start of the race was raining. Now what you're going to see is we have quite a few top split drivers in the lobby, some really fast people in here. We've got Will Murdoch, we've got Damien there, so we're going to all wait for everyone to go through so that we give them a little bit of a head start, and then we're going to go from the back of the grid. Now this video is basically, I really want to talk about something that's been missing from this game. As you can clearly see, it's what we're looking at right now: weather in daily races. We have still yet to have a single daily race with any of this kind of dynamic weather in it. Now this race will highlight why I believe that dynamic weather is so important to the experience of Gran Turismo, because I think if we could create another daily race, it doesn't have to be even in daily race, it can be a separate daily race where you do in-session qualifying. We could be in for an absolute treat when it comes to some of these races, because we've been doing this for a while now. For the last few months, the lobbies are much better now in this game, and we've been racing these races and, you know, taking part with dynamic settings. We've kind of figured out the weather system, make it a little bit random. You can see it's raining at the moment. I'm doing a bit of fuel saving, just trying to keep the car in a stable position, because the track at this point now is definitely full wets pretty much. I've got the full wet tyres on now. Some people I think risk starting on the intermediates possibly in this race. I'm not too sure. Nobody started on the soft tyre though. That would have been way too risky. You would have been out the race and no chance at all. As we watch that replay camera going into the final corner now, obviously at high speed ring, the high lines really work on this track. Up high, carry more speed. We've got Will Murdoch grinding along the wall there. He's obviously got caught on there and he's got some nice penalties to go with that, so Will's going to drop a bit back there in that BMW. You can see on the track map, on the weather radar there, we've got some heavy rain coming in, and it's actually, I think that's rain's been, and now it's going to start going a little bit lighter. You can see on the tyre telemetry also, we're into the heavy, heavy rain setting now. These heavy wet tyres are what is needed in this situation. We're up to P10 and we're working our way through the field. Now in Group 4, this combination is really fun. Now the weather system, I think if you go into Group 3, and that could be a bit tricky depending on how heavy the rain is for some drivers. But in Group 4, I think the cars are quite stable in the wet conditions. PD could definitely take advantage of some of these dynamic weather races with the Group 4 cars. It is probably the more entertaining car to do in terms of every skill level being able to race in them, because they're not as likely to lose control on accelerator. They have a bit more grip, as we see P7 getting a little bit sideways there, managed to save that up in the Cayman and gets himself back on the normal racing line. We're going to go around the outside though. A lot of grip on the outside line at high speed ring there, especially in the wet settings. It seems to give a lot of grip, and we're now going to go up to P Steve now. So up to P6, and we're pushing on for the next group of cars. You can see, I think there's a car going on that inside line. We're going to take that higher line. You can see different people trying different lines in the corners, and that's quite interesting to see as well. Now the high line was definitely the best way to do that, but it was risky that you could run up against the wall. But I do believe PD need to start incorporating this dynamic weather that they talked about for months. You know, they were going on about it. They had a state of play dedicated to it, and still to this day we haven't seen it featured in a daily race. Now for me, it's a completely wasted feature. I feel like they are wasting probably the best feature in the game, because the weather system on this game is absolutely brilliant. As you see, we're going to push ourselves up to P5 now on the outside, and again for this corner you're going to see we're going to take that really wide line, keeping it on the outside there. That's where the grip is at high speed ring. Keep the middle of the car by the white line, and watching all them cars come through there. And also visually, I have to say, visually this game, with the dynamic weather on and a bit of time progression in the dynamic time of day, the lighting on this game is miles apart from other games. I think it's just so good. I think this game looks ultra realistic with the lighting that is created on the replay cameras. It looks absolutely brilliant. I think you lot would agree. It looks stunning when you've got the weather on there, the sun setting and stuff like that. And it's what we want to see in daily races. We want to have a bit of a variety with strategies, because for example this race, I think we had soft mediums available but no compulsory tyre. Now we obviously had intermediates and full wet tyre available as well, but we didn't know when the track was going to dry out. So the possibilities for strategy were pretty much totally in your own hands. You could go for an early stop, risk it on a slightly wet track. You could stay out on the wet tyres. You You could go for inters and maybe risk that to the end. There was many different strategies you could do for this race, and it was actually really enjoyable to take part in. As we're going to go up the inside here of Damien, he's in the NSX there. And one other thing we do for our lobby racing is we tend to ban certain cars that are obviously a bit too quick on BOP for this, like certain tracks, like this track, the McLaren and the Supra and stuff like that are a little bit too fast. They're way too fast. As Damien there goes for a bit of a send, loses control, and just blocks our way through the corner. That was a mistake by Damien, nothing deliberate, just a little error there on his half. But yeah, we tend to avoid people using certain cars to create a closer field and to make people use cars that they don't normally use. And I think that really helps as well with the racing, to see cars, you know, we've got Corvette there, Mazda, I'm in the Ferrari, we've got BMW in the race, NSX in the race, a lot of variety in the car choices. It's actually really fun to take part in. But you can see now we're down to P7. We've got Ramster behind us there. I'm not sure what car Ramster, he might also be in the Ferrari as well as we approach. But now looking on the telemetry, you can see that the tyre grip is now in the intermediate phase. So technically, some people could technically pit for intermediates. You can see on the weather radar as well, we're about to go into fully dry phase. Now up high here though, there is little spots where it's full wet. So pitting early could be risky, but you can see that tyre telemetry is clearly showing that we're now in intermediate conditions. Now, a lot of us are on full wet tyres. There's going to be people going for different strategies in this race. This race is going to dry out. We've still got 11 laps to go, and it's definitely going to start drying out, and it's going to dry out quite quick. We're going to skip to lap 6 here, midway through lap 6, and you can see we've caught up to this battle in front of us. A real crazy battle for P1 going on in this lobby race. You can see there is still some issues with the connection in lobby racing. Now obviously in daily races that issue isn't really there unless the connections are terrible from the driver, but yeah, that's just one thing they do need to finely tune a little bit, is that little bit of netcode issue that some people are getting with the lag and the car that's almost twerking in front of us. If they can get that sorted, I think lobbies are pretty much 100% sorted now, because we've been doing lobby racing for quite a while now. We just need some features in there for like qualifying, reverse grids, stuff like that, just to get, you know, all the features that are in GT Sport, and then these lobbies are in a very good place. Now we're skipping ahead a little bit again to the final corner on lap 7, and you can see the track is really starting to dry out in place. It's actually close to dry tyres, and you can see there are drivers there going for the strategy of putting the dry tyres on. Now I've decided to stay out here because there is spots on the track that are definitely wet, and it's going to be a risky strategy. It could be fastest way to do this though, because they've still got quite a long way left in this race, and there's a lot of racing to be done. We've got Will Murdoch coming behind us. He's going to try and go up the inside. I'm going to stay on the outside because, like I say, the outside is the preferred line for this corner. But I'm going to do a bit of fuel saving here as we come into this corner, and then try and carry the speed round the outside. And you can see that Will has actually managed to make that move work. Now the reason for that is because the dry line appears on the inside. Even though most people drive on the outside, there is a little bit of a glitch. Well, I say it's a glitch, but it's basically they're pre-baked, the tracks, with how they dry out. There is no, it doesn't matter where you drive on the track. These tracks dry out a set pattern. It's all scripted, basically, how the tracks dry out. So that is one criticism I have about the way they dry out. But I think maybe with this game being on PS4 as well, would have been a little bit too much to ask for the PS4 to, you know, do drying lines based on where people are drying. But Will takes advantage of that. Obviously held the line on the dry line and took a little bit more speed. As now we're going around the outside now, trying to keep these tyres as well. We're on wet tyres, so we don't want to drive on that dry line too much, because it will start absolutely killing these tyres. Now, looking on the track map, you can see we've got a big variety of cars. You can have a little look now as we come here. You can see, look at the field spread that's going on. Now, a lot of this is not because we've got like a lot of random drivers in there. It's because so many people are on different strategies in this race. And this race is just going to all come together at the end for a really exciting finish. So again, I was going to go for a pit stop here. I thought about it and thought, no, let's not do it. Let's stay out on the wet tyre and risk a no-stop strategy, because I saw the cars in front doing it, so I thought I'm going to go with their strategy. Now, I made the mistake early on of saving fuel, and I didn't actually need to save fuel in the Ferrari. I could have gone flat out in this race with the Ferrari. There really was no fuel issue at all. So now I think we started to realise a little bit further on as we hit lap 10 now. You can see again, I was thinking about pitting again, and I thought, no, let's not do it again. I kept trying to think, do I need to pit? Because I was looking at people pitting, as we see Damien going in the pits from the front there. He was 5 seconds ahead of us. That might be a bit too late. There might not be enough laps there left in this race to catch back up. So that's going to be an interesting strategy, because I'm a few seconds behind P1 now. But yeah, it looks like I'm stuck in now with this strategy of staying out on the wet tyres. You can see searching for a bit of water on the left there, trying to keep the tyres from overheating, because when you do drive on that dry line, these wet tyres do tend to fade a little bit quicker. So if you're ever in a race like this, bear that in mind. Go onto the wet lines. It does actually help the tyres last a little bit longer. So into the braking zone, you can see now we can brake a lot later on these wet tyres, but they just do not have the pace. You can see the fastest lap of the race is quite a few seconds quicker than what we're doing now in terms of pace. There are some corners that are benefiting being on the wet tyres that you can run up high, but even then, on the soft tyres, they're able to go very, very low down and carry a lot of speed still, so it's still faster. But this race is really going to get close. You can see as we come to lap 12, you can see the gap now behind us under 10 seconds. And yeah, it's getting really, really close. You can see we've got 4 laps to go, and under 10-second gap, they're gaining quite a bit, over 2 seconds, like over nearly 3 seconds a lap. So they're going to be on us as we skip now to lap 13. You can see at the end of lap 13, start lap 14, they've gained quite a big chunk on that lap. They are catching us up at an incredibly fast rate. We've actually got a back marker now going for a move on us and actually unlapping himself. This shows you just how much faster the dry tyre was at this stage of the race. You can actually see the dry line, and look at the lighting on this game. This is what I'm saying. Look at the visuals with the clouds, the sunlight. We need these races as a daily race. It has to happen. Lap 14 there, you can see, and starting lap 15, the gap is insanely close to P4. We've actually got ribs right behind us now and nearly in the slipstream on them soft tyres. This looks like this is going to be a bit of a fail strategy for me. Not sure if it's going to work. It's probably not. You can see they're gaining so fast, but this is what we want. We want daily races where different people are trying different strategies, and just getting it right at that moment could really help. Now we look in the mirror now, we can see the chasing pack of cars on the soft tyres, and just look at the closing in speeds. They've just got so much more grip. There is just not much I can do about it. It's just about keeping my car on the line and just hoping that we can just get something from this at the end. Now, one thing they have to be careful of is going into the wet lines, because if they go onto the wet part of the track at all, they are going to end up in the barrier, because there'll be no grip on them soft tyres. You can see I'm going up high to get a bit of wet on the tyre there, and then we're going to tuck into the slipstream from P4. So we got 1 lap to go in this crazy race. This is going to be really interesting as we come through to this final lap. The fuel is pretty much perfect. I can go flat out all the way to the finish here, and we're going to actually give Rytaka a little bit of a bump draft, because there's no point me trying to overtake him. He's on the soft tyres. What I want to do is just give him a bump draft and try and see if we can catch up to the lead group, because the lead 2 drivers are still on the wet tyres, and this is all coming down to the final lap in this race. And this is why I love doing the elimination lobbies. So yeah, if you do want to take part, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button on this video, and then you can come in onto them live streams and take part in these races. It is really entertaining to be in, I feel. So again, we've got the inside line to the Subaru. I'm not sure what tyres he's on. We've got the back marker getting out of the way of the battles, because he doesn't want to interfere with this race, because he's obviously got the blue flags there. And we've got 2 drivers in the front still on the soft tyres, and it looks like P3 has gone a little bit deep into this left-hand corner, has got his tyres wet and straight into the barrier. That is the problem about running the dry tyres in these conditions. One little mistake there, that's going to give us the line up the left of ribs there and back up to P5. What a crazy race. And now as we come through here, we've got Turbo lagging a little bit up front, and as he's coming through this corner, he's going to go into the barrier, lose control of his car, and he ends up taking out Rytaka right on the finishing line. And then we're up to P3, and looking ahead, we've got Will Murdoch running out of fuel just before the line, and a car overtakes us, but he had a penalty. What a crazy... We ended up P2 in that race. P1 ended up being on the... I think on the strategy of onto the soft tyre at the end. It was just complete chaos. I don't even know what the strategies were that won that in the end, because that was just chaos, but so much fun. Now let's have a little watch of that last bit of racing from the replay camera. You can see we're trying to hold the line with these wet tyres. So Subaru clearly got more grip with the soft tyres. We can't compete with that. We've got cars behind us as well coming through there with the soft tyres. We've got Damien there in the background after pitting quite late on them soft tyres. Clearly it was a good choice to go onto the soft, but Damien made that choice a little bit too late in this race. And you can see as we come through here, we've got Ribs going up the inside line there to go back past us, but he's got a 1.5 second penalty, so he's obviously going to drop behind us. We have there Turbo taking out, I think it was Rytaka, and we end up into P2 as Will Murdoch there, just as we go over the line, runs out of fuel, And what a crazy race though. This is why we really need to get some dynamic weather into daily races. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Let's see if PD can listen. They are listening about other stuff, so maybe they'll start listening about adding these into daily races. Hope you have fun with the video. Make sure you join into the live streams when we're doing these races. It's always entertaining. Give the channel a subscribe and hit that like button. Bye everyone.